everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Teardown. My name is Jeff Buck, and along with my coworker Jordan Bianchi, we are motorsports writers for The Athletic, and we're here to talk about race number 1 of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Darlington Raceway, where Jordan is. He's just witnessed the Southern 500, and Kyle Larson is the victor. And, this, I guess, happened last night, technically, because it's already Monday morning your time, Jordan. You've already had a long day, I assume, there.
It has been a long day. It feels like that's the theme for the last few weeks, Daytona and then Darlington. And it's going to be a late one tonight, but that's kind of what we expect with this race. And this race unfolded exactly what we kind of expected, and very similar to last year, right? A lot of playoff drivers had issues, and we leave here with a lot of questions, and guys thinking that they were secure, not so much, and then guys who were kind of on the bubble leaving here in a relatively good spot. So it sets up for a interesting next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but one of our media colleagues, I guess, asked in the press conference, like, are you surprised that so many playoff drivers seem to run into various issues tonight? And I wanted to be like, no, like, why? Who would be surprised? Like, this is exactly what we would have thought. Like, this is what this race has generated.
Yes.
This is the whole thing, right? Like, it's everybody all on media day and all this stuff. We've got to avoid mistakes in the first round. We can't make mistakes. You can't shoot yourself in the foot. We just got to have smooth races. And then Darlington being Darlington, and then just the playoff opener and everything like that. Mistakes happen, and that's the story of the race, right? Like, who didn't make mistakes? So really, it was sort of the Darlington race you would expect in a lot of ways, right?
Everything. I mean, this really played out very similar to last year in a lot of respects, in that the guys were running well, and then all of a sudden something would happen and derail their chances. It looked for a good portion of this race like Denny Hamlin was going to run away and win this race. And you're like, okay, well, I guess that's exciting, sure. And it wasn't the case. And then he had his issue, with a loose wheel. And then once that happened, it just kind of set off this chain of events. And from there, you throw everything into a blender. And, between Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. and Logano and Chastain and Bubba Wallace and so forth, it's just, it was a night where it just seemed like very few of these guys. And I'm looking at the list right now, and I think maybe 3, Byron, Buescher, and Keselowski were the only 3 that didn't really have an issue of some sort tonight. Maybe Blaney, though, he had a car that went sideways for a little while and he had to recover.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, when you look at this list, you're like, well, that guy had trouble, that guy had trouble. I'll tell you what, let's just go down the list. Let's go in order of points, and let's play a little game where we talk about how we think these drivers would be feeling or should be feeling, or the ones you talk to, maybe you know how they're feeling, about their race, about their point situation after Darlington. Obviously, let's start with Kyle Larson, right? He comes out, probably didn't have the fastest car. I wouldn't say he had the fastest 2 cars, maybe 3 cars, maybe 3. But, he's able to get it done. He's able to take advantage of the situation. Obviously, you talked about with Hamlin. We'll talk later. Harvick probably could have won this race. He's able to, get past Reddick, hold Reddick off. No surprise, certainly. I mean, somebody I picked for my Final Four. I think you have him in your Final Four. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So we both have him in our Final Four. This is somebody we expect to make a deep playoff run. He's been good at Darlington consistently, and he closes it out, gets it done. I mean, obviously you feel, I think if you're him, it's not like you're like, wow, we're really gonna have a chance at the playoffs this year. You're like, yeah, okay, we started off exactly what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this was a big win because we talked a lot about Kyle Larson's inconsistency and how, yes, he's got the most top 5 finishes this year, but he's also got 60 DNFs, and I forgot the exact number of number of finishes in the 30s, but it's large. But this is a team that's very inconsistent. And now, really, for round 1, it doesn't matter, right? Like, as long as you're winning in a round, you can be the inconsistent as you want, because the next 2 weeks he could go finish 35th in both races, and it doesn't matter at all to him. And so to get this win and to move yourself forward, it takes a huge amount of pressure off anybody in that position, but especially this team who's not shown the ability this year to string together successive races where they finish well.
Well, and one thing Cliff Daniels pointed out after the races, we're behind on playoff points, and that almost deterred me a little bit from even going with Larson for my Final Four, because I thought, well, he really doesn't have the playoff points that you would typically expect out of somebody that makes a championship run. But, you see right here, he gets 5 more, right away for the next round. And, now he can just worry about, Bristol, Kansas, this round, he's already locked in. So they can just try to pile it on more, maybe a couple more stage wins. Maybe he wins Bristol or something like that. So, they're in decent shape, obviously. They were going to be fine anyway, but I think this is a big boost for them in terms of, making it all the way and sort of erasing the inconsistency of their year. So second in points now, and actually the points leader by 1, but, obviously, the way that with automatic berths doesn't really matter. But William Byron is plus 45 to the good on the cutoff line. He finished 4th, and as you mentioned earlier, he really had just a smooth, clean night. Really didn't seem like they got into any incidents. Nothing really went wrong. He may have run a little bit outside the top 5 for a while, but he was pretty much up there most of the night. So if you're William Byron, how are you feeling leaving Darlington?
Really good. Didn't necessarily qualify the best, and you had to work your way up there. You came in plus 29. You're leaving plus 45. Heading to a track where you had a very fast car in the spring. And so I think if you're William Byron, you're very, very happy with how tonight went, because it wasn't like you had a dominant car, but you made the most of it and you capitalized on other people's mistakes. And now your point cushion is such you can have a mulligan these next 2 races and still feel pretty good about your chances to move forward. I mean, really at this point, they would have to have 2 back-to-back bad races in a row and probably something else kind of wonky in terms of someone below the cut line winning for them not to move on. It's very unlikely at this point.
Right. Yeah, I do think, though, I think you're really happy and you feel like, hey, we came and executed and we had a smooth night. But I think you're probably also wondering, like, man, like we want to win too. Like, this is a team that, would like to win the title, wants to make a Final Four run. And when you see your teammate go up there and win, there's got to be a little bit of like, okay, like, do we have the same speed, or like, are we going to be okay here? So that's, but again, I think you leave feeling pretty good, but there's probably a little tinge of, all right, I'd like to see something else at Kansas next week. Let's run with our teammate a little bit closer at least. But obviously 4th place, not a bad night at all. So you can't really complain about that. 3rd in points now. Somebody that we both had in our playoff picks on The Athletic.
Don't read that. Don't read it.
We both had this person missing the being eliminated after round 1. That is,
stop the narrative, Jeff, and just say it's Tyler Reddick and let's just move on. We don't need the setup.
So, but here's the thing. Look, it was never about Tyler Reddick, and he's plus 30 to the good right now. It's never about, okay, do they have the speed? Does Tyler Reddick have the talent? Can they get it done? But personally, I don't know why you didn't pick him, but I just didn't trust this team, or I haven't trusted this team all year.
Same reason, yeah.
There's too many mistakes, and you can't really see, you rarely see them put together a full race. And I mean, to be honest, despite his 2nd place finish tonight, they almost threw it away, because Billy Scott makes he sees Harvick pitting. And that, honestly, for Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick, that looked like it was going to be the race-winning call, or it very well could have been. He was going to undercut him, to short pit by 1 lap, and Reddick, they tried calling Reddick's pit road. I was listening to his, radio at the time. They tried getting him, and there was this, I heard this, somebody's voice said too late, and Reddick had pretty much tried to stop on the track. Ryan Newman runs into the back of him. Kevin Harvick then is a situation where he's coming to pit road, and we could talk about later, why he pitted and didn't just, drive through and lose the track position. But that was the moment right there. I mean, but Reddick for his part, comes away unscathed, continues on, finishes second, had a chance to run for the win. So how do you feel if you're Reddick?
I think you feel really good. In a race where it's really easy to make mistakes, this team largely got through here unscathed, and now they went from +2 to +30. That's huge. And for a team where you don't know what you're going to get week to week, to get out of Darlington in this position, going to a racetrack where 2311 should be really strong and is one of Tyler's better tracks, I think you're feeling really, really good right now, because if you can go to Kansas and do what you're capable of doing and run and finish in the top 5 and get some stage points, then it makes Bristol a lot easier for you, which is a little wonky. And to your point, they've left a lot of points on the table this year. They left a lot of wins on the table. And so in a race where it seems like just about everybody had issues and threw away potentially good finishes, they didn't. And that is huge for this team.
And he had a great mentality chasing down Larson. He knew, hey, I can't push this too far. I'm going to give away a lot of points. He knew that he was having a really good points night, and that was really important. Obviously I think if you're him, you feel really good, especially with the season they've had, where you're like, man, can we not just put a race together? They pretty much do it to start the playoffs here. And you really put yourself in a much more comfortable position with breathing room. And so, yeah, like you said, two good tracks coming up next. I'd feel pretty good. Fourth in points, Chris Buescher, who had won 3 straight ovals coming into this weekend, and was really in the mix there at the end too. Finished third, another strong run. It just seems like you keep thinking, well, I mean, at some point, they're not going to keep doing this, are they? And they do. He is +27 to the good. Just super impressive. What can you say about this team? Just solid. They don't make mistakes. I'm sure he wanted to win, but you've got to feel. I would think if you're him, you feel, again, just like sort of with Reddick, like you feel pretty good with race number 1 here, right?
Absolutely. And I think a couple things here is, one, didn't have any issues tonight. I mean, besides the fire on pit road, which was that wasn't a small fire, by the way. They said on the radio that was a really small fire. That was not a small fire. Yeah. But you really feel good about where you're at. And then what stands out to me, beyond obviously padding your point lead by 13, is more continued speed on the ovals. It didn't disappear. It's still there. And that, to me, bodes well going into Kansas, which there are some similarities there with Michigan a little bit. And if you're looking at this going, man, this team on its last 4 oval races has got 3 wins and a 3rd-place finish, you would think they're going to be in the mix at Kansas for a good top 10 somewhere. That's what you want right now. That's what you need. I like this team a lot. They have to feel really good about their chances. I think they're in a great spot. And by the way, just there's 2. After Kansas is Bristol, where he won it a year ago.
That's right. Yep. So the first 4, pretty much all sunshine and roses. But now we're going to get into some people that might not be feeling as good. Starting with the person 5th in points, actually tied with Chris Buescher, +27, and that is Denny Hamlin. So on the one hand, you could, if you're Denny Hamlin, you go, well, wait, I mean, gosh, we led 177 laps. We dominated this race. We were going to win the race. That would have been the narrative had the loose wheel not happened. 90 to go or whatever it is. They pit. He immediately feels like he's got a loose wheel. Says, I can't stay out any longer. I've got to come to you. Team says, well, he didn't really see anything, but he, of course, knows what he felt.
Yeah.
And but I mean, as a result, you go from having a pretty decent points cushion. You're now +27. You just don't really, first of all, you gave one away. He gave a crown jewel away. He gave away a win where he's trying to get, his personal career totals. So all that stuff hurts. He can't afford to give up wins at this point in his age and his career, and that stings, right? Because he's trying to get to 60, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't affect. I wouldn't really think it affects his playoff chances, because I mean, you look at it, and Toyota's led all but 60 laps tonight, 307 of the 367 laps. They just didn't close it out. But, if you're him, you're like, well, we have fast cars, so that's good. You're looking at your Final Four chance of your championship hopes. That doesn't really affect anything tonight, except you lost some points, I guess. But, I think he probably just hates to miss out on the win and whatever, he's going to look at it and be like, well, I don't really care that I'm plus 27. I just care that we lost. And that really is going to sting because they gave that one away.
They did. And that's kind of where I fall on this, is that this was a win. They should have won this race. There's no doubt. And when you're Hamlin at this point in your career, winning major races and taking another step towards winning a championship are really the only thing that matters. You left one on the table tonight. And I think back to last year when Denny was eliminated at Martinsville, he pointed back to Pocono and the missed bonus points that he lost in that day. And to me, I look ahead and I say, what happens if like another Martinsville happens and you lost out on these bonus points? And so big picture, this could mean something. Is he in danger of getting eliminated? No. I mean, he's fine. He's going to Kansas. By the way, he won at Kansas, earlier this year. He's really good at Bristol. Like that, the points in the micro, I'm not concerned about because he's going to get on to round 2, no problem. But the bonus points and potentially what that could mean, and then like you point in the resume and everything else, like this stinks. This is going to hurt a little bit. You leave here knowing you left one on the table for sure.
Well, and to your point also, the 5 playoff bonus points that would have come with it. I mean, he got 2 playoff bonus points, to take into the next round for his stage wins. But I mean, he could have swept the whole thing. That would have really helped, going in the future. And, also let's not act like it's a guarantee now to make it to the next round. I mean, if something happens, and fluky weird things do happen that aren't in your control, right? You really don't have that much of a cushion anymore, 27 points. So, he's got to have 2 clean races and he could easily, he could obviously win, but, I think you're feeling pretty bad. As is 6th place, Martin Truex Jr., the regular season, champion, was tied for the number 1 seed. It is now 6th in points. Like I said, plus 25. They were way off. Something was, this is a terrible thing for them.
They missed big time. And I think this is where I fall on this. And it's really easy to talk about how, this is one of his best tracks and they should have come here and done better, blah, blah, blah. But I will say this. They were bad tonight. They were horrible, right? They still leave here plus 25. That's pretty good. And I mean, they may have used their mulligan up tonight, but when you're plus 25, you're still in a pretty good spot. And I think that's the big thing is like, man, as bad as we're still comfortably above the cut line, going to a track that is one of Martin's absolute best. And so I would feel good about that because it could have been a lot worse tonight, but it wasn't. We salvaged it, and we're still coming out of here in a relatively decent spot. So I guess I'm more trying to be the glass is half full perspective on this.
Oddly, despite finishing 18th, he ends up being the top finishing Joe Gibbs racing car. I mean, what a bad.
You would have never predicted it at all tonight. Like when this like halfway this race, there's no way.
No way. Yeah, because number 1, going into the race, you would have said, I mean, was thinking, okay, it's either going to be, one of the Hendrick guys or one of the Gibbs guys. That was going to be my thought, right? And then, so when Truex is off to start, that's one thing. But then, even at the halfway point, you're like, well, Gibbs is having a good night. Truex might not be, but, Bell, at least he started well. Denny is dominating. The Toyotas look good. And then, I mean, for them to not even, have a car in the top 17, yikes. But, hey, if you're going to have a bad race, do it in race number 1 of round 1 and give yourself plenty of time to recover, right? So it's not like this is round 3. All right, so 7th place in the points right now, Kyle Busch, and he's plus 20. And I don't know if have you heard the audio that's going around Twitter a little bit yet? Somebody clipped it
No, what did I miss?
So it's the last 2 laps of his in car, and it's not looking like he's going to be able to pass Logano. And out of turn 4, he just puts it up on the high side and rubs it against the wall almost. Not like a Chastain, but I mean, he made a little contact with the wall, and Logano tried to hold him off, but he got such a run that he beat him at the line. And you hear Kyle come over the radio and he goes, ha ha ha! Like he was really happy that he passed Logano to get that last spot for 11th place. But,
I thought it was more juicier than that. I was hoping for something like, scandalous or something.
Oh, no. It's just that, he laughed after he past Logano.
You got my expectations.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Fine. I just thought it was kind of funny.
That's fine.
But yeah, so they were. I think he even says after that on the radio, like, "Hey, we were probably an 8th, 12th place car. We ended up on sort of the back end of that. So, it was not the most amazing night, to start like a championship run. But hey, 7th in points, not terrible. Plus 20, not terrible. I think if you're him, you leave and you're like, all right, like it's okay. I don't hate it. It's something to work with at least. And he knows that, especially Bristol for him, like that's pretty. He's going to be good. So, yeah. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is that about what he's thinking right at this point?
Here's what I have on what happened to Kyle Busch tonight. This is the list. Crashed in practice. And they broke the toe link on the car, had to make adjustments, which meant he had to start in the back tonight. So started in the back, and then at one point he hit the wall pretty good and came down pit road and told the team, basically using Kyle language, it's killed. And so, damaged the car there, and then got a piece of that other crash, or I guess you could say maybe caused it, but whatever.
The Gilliland one.
Yeah, exactly. And so he got damaged there. And despite all of that, though, he picks up 8 points on this. So I'm feeling pretty good. Like, we had a lot work against us tonight. Some of it was self-inflicted for sure, which is kind of a recurring theme this year for this team. But we still picked up 8 points. We're okay. And we still got Bristol out there where, like you said, Kyle is really good. I'm kind of feeling I'm not feeling great, but I'm feeling like, okay. We managed. We got through this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, you always want more if you're Kyle Busch, right? But I think that's fair. You just feel okay. Yeah. And probably the same could be said for Brad Keselowski, who finishes 6th. He is 8th in points, plus 18 on the cut line. And the sort of the defining thing for him. I mean, they were running well. I think they were at 4th, and they decided to pit, and they restarted. I think 17th is what I think that's what I have.
Somewhere back there, yeah.
On fresh tires. And they thought, you know what? Let's drive up there on the fresh tires because people, they'll have older tires. And this last run here, we can pick some people off.
But that wasn't the case tonight, though. Like, you notice that? Tires weren't the huge difference that we usually see at Darlington, it didn't feel like.
Yeah, I mean, well, he got up to 6th.
He did, but it wasn't like you normally see at Darlington. This happened to Harvick too at one point, where he had a fresher tires than the guys in front of him, and it wasn't like this huge game changer like we so often see here.
I don't know. I didn't really. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they still made a difference. They were still falling off.
Sure,
but yeah, I can't really. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it, I guess. But I think you feel like, hey, look, both RFK cars, top 6 in the playoff opener. We have speed. We have something to work with. Solid, decent, right? Like you don't hate it. You don't love it. I think you always kind of want more. I mean, he's not in a great position on the playoff cut line, but especially for Keselowski, he didn't come in with that many playoff points anyway at all. So, to be plus 18, again, he ran well at Bristol last year too until he popped a tire. So, I think you'd feel decent. I don't think you go home and celebrate, but I think you feel like, all right, we got out of the first one, right?
I think you're feeling really good about this if you're Brad Keselowski. By my
Really
math,
good, you think?
yeah, I mean he picked up 15 points tonight, which in terms of number of points picked up, only trails Byron, Reddick, and there's one other one on my list, and I apologize. So he had like the third or fourth most gained points tonight.
Okay.
That's and for a guy who came in +3, razor thin margin of error there. You've just now you're +18. That's in your head of one, two, three, four guys above the cut line. That's a nice little buffer to have. That makes you feel good. So I think you're feeling good about this, and kind of echoing what I said about Buescher. There's been no fall off in the RFK speed. The speed that we have seen on oval tracks at the end of the regular season has carried over so far into the playoffs. That's a promising sign going forward, looking at Kansas.
Well, I mean, the only thing is also like it's your teammate is the one that keeps getting in contention for the wins and podiums,
Wow.
and
Yeah, well, I mean,
you'd like to have a little more of that speed, I'm sure. But
yeah,
I mean, you're right though. I mean, your point's well taken. I mean that he was a big gainer tonight. So, like I said, I mean, I'm sure he's not unhappy. I'm sure he's pleased, but it's also not like, all right, we're going to the Final Four.
no, it's just about survive and advance, right? And tonight, other people had issues. He did what he had to do, survive and advance.
So I don't really know where to put this one. Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney's ninth in points, +16 on the cut line. He also finished ninth. But, I mean, if you're him, it seemed like he had maybe I was looking at the practice stuff, and I was like, whoa, he might have the fastest car. Like, could he win? I mean, that was a lot of speed there. So, get nothing, it's a top 10 finish in the playoff opener. You're like, okay, that's good. But I also feel like, are they looking at things going, I don't know, I don't know if they would be really like happy leaving this race.
No, I mean, a lot of people were talking about Ryan Blaney going into this race, and for early portions of this race, he was kind of running solidly in the top 5, 6, kind of hanging around there and just kind of doing his thing. You kind of thought, okay, sun's going to set, track's going to change. You just kind of put yourself in position to be there. And then through pit strategy and the car wasn't to his liking, he went all the way back. He was running in 20th at one point. And so I don't know. I mean, it was a mad scramble at the end. It feels like it should have been better than it was, but it also was, hey, we went from +1 to +16. That's encouraging. So it's just kind of it's really a microcosm of the year, right? Like they look good at times. They look sometimes borderline great, and then it's unfulfilled and things go wrong, and you're kind of like, well, how do we assess this? Which feels like this Blaney season in a whole.
Yeah, I mean, he was the top non-RFK Ford, which these days seems to be a badge of honor in itself, because RFK is just keeps getting these great results. And Penske seems to be behind a step, and then SHR behind that. It's fine, but I don't know.
You want more from them.
Yeah, you keep wanting more, right?
At some point, you want to see this team find that extra lever and just become the dominating team that they should be. Blaney's good enough to be that driver. This team is good enough to be that team. And we see glimpses of it, but not enough. And it's if I was a Blaney fan, and I'm sure they probably feel this way too, it's got to be maddening, right? Like, it's there. It feels like it should be there. You've got all these great ingredients to make this wonderful recipe, but instead you're turning out baby food that no one wants to eat.
Oh, baby food?
Baby food sucks.
How do you know baby food sucks?
Have you tried it before? Have you never tried baby food?
Well, why would you know this? I have two children.
I have friends of mine who have kids. I'm not like I mean.
Well, I don't actually think we ever fed our kids baby food, so no.
What do you feed your kids?
That's. Oh, jeez. Anyway,
like don't you have to like feed them baby food?
Jordan, they drink milk the entire first year.
Okay,
they don't eat solids.
And then it's okay after the first year. Don't they have to eat like food?
yeah, you can start giving them like food. You know, it doesn't have to be baby food. Why does it have to be baby food? Like out of a little Gerber jar or whatever. It doesn't have to be that.
Okay.
No, you can mash up avocado, bananas, all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
They can do that. They don't have teeth, but they can eat soft foods, like actual real foods. They don't need to eat like little foods from a jar.
All right. Hey, I learned something new tonight.
Well, I mean, that's what we did anyway. Anyway, so let's see. Okay. Oh, here's one that's going to feel really good about himself.
Oh, man.
10th in points after a 5th place finish. Ross Chastain, he's plus 13 to the good. This is a guy who, since that Darlington, well, he finished top 5 at Kansas, and the next week was Darlington, where the very notable Kyle Larson incident happened. Since then, his Nashville win was the only top 5 he had the entire rest of the spring and summer, entering the playoffs. Then this race starts, and you're like, whoop, like I personally picked him to miss, to get eliminated after this first round, because I'm like, I just don't see it. I am not seeing the speed out of this team, and they can say that they're going to get it back and, you know, make the most out of it, and I'm just not seeing it right now. They seem to have lost a step or something in speed, so I don't know what it is. So then the race starts, and I'm thinking, yep, that's what I thought. Like, they got lapped. They were running way toward the back of the pack. It was a Herculean effort for him to stay on the lead lap for a while ahead of Reddick. And that he ended up getting lapped on a pit cycle, but, you know, got the free pass and was able to hang in there and worked his way up, finished 5th. I would feel tremendous if I was Ross Chastain, despite being 10th in points plus 13. I'd feel like this was practically a win. Like that was a heck of a comeback and a really strong, just something to feel good about after they've really lacked that going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, 100%. This is you're leaving here on a high, feeling really good about yourself. Now, a lot had to happen to guys in front of you, you know, Harvick, Hamlin, etc. But doesn't matter. You take advantage of other people's mistakes. You leave here with a fifth place finish, and you gain a bunch of points. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm feeling really, really good about this.
Joey Logano is 11th in points. He finished 12th tonight. Actually, a nice comeback for him after a broken toe link. He's only plus 3 to the good. And for the defending champion, that is not a place where you expect him to be, way down the order there. And really going to have to fight these next couple weeks just to make it out of this round. I wouldn't be feeling good. I would be leaving Darlington, driving back to North Carolina, feeling like, man, we've got some work to do. And even though, you could say, well, a lot of the night was because we got put in the wall and we broke the toe link. I mean, it wasn't like they were running that well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't have like any sort of a car that was going to go up there and win, right? So, maybe they did. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Maybe I'm just more positive than you. I look at it and say, listen, we got into the wall a couple times. We broke a toe link. We had a lengthy stop on pit road. We had to scramble to finish that. This could have been a hell of a lot worse. This could easily been a finish where we are on the wrong side of that cut line, and we're one of the 4 drivers that are, looking up, going, "Oh man, we're in trouble." Instead, they're only plus 3. It's not a lot, but it's a lot better than it could have been. So they salvaged it. Keep in mind though, next 2 weeks they have no margin of error, like none. And so you kind of used up your mulligan, if you will, if you even had one, considering the points position they were in. Yeah, you pretty much got to be lights out the next 2 weeks, or you got to figure out a way to win one of these races, because otherwise, I mean, it's very possible he could be eliminated in round 1.
Christopher Bell. See, I think it's sort of flip flopped. Or like I think what you just said about Logano, I sort of feel about Bell, where, I mean, here's a guy who starts off leading the race. The pit crew, his brand new pit crew that he just switched with, Ty Gibbs, has a bad pit stop start. The jack dropped too early. So he loses spots. He comes over the radio. They're like, no problem at all. Like, he is positive and everything's all good. They kind of Adam Stevens had him stay out a little bit longer to have a little bit fresher tires at the end of the stage. But at the end of the stage, he puts himself in the wall like pretty hard and damages the toe link. They couldn't fix it up for him until a caution for the lights going out, which actually really, really helped them stay in the game because they were able to make some extended repairs for that like 10-lap caution before the red flag. And, you know, he ends up leaving +1. He's 12th in points. He finished 23rd. I mean, first of all, even finishing 23rd, this could have been way, way worse for him. Could have been way lower. And also, I mean, you would have thought as soon as he had his incident, and he also got a piece that later crashed too. You would have thought, man, there's no way he's leaving above the cut line. And again, +1. It's not great, but I mean, if you're him, you're looking at it, you're going, man, this to me, like that could have been way, way worse. We're at least still in it. We're at least still on the good side of it.
Yeah, but you lost 6 points tonight. You went from +7 to +1. And the issues with this team this year have been mistakes, self-induced mistakes, lack of execution, and throwing away strong finishes. And on a night when you had, let's just be generous, top 5 car, you were probably going to finish in the top 10 for sure, maybe top 5, and your manufacturer Toyota dominated. And instead you're scrambling because you got into the wall. Like, no, I'm leaving here pissed off and going, what's going on here? Why do this keep happening? If I'm Christopher Bell, I'm going, why do I keep putting myself in a position like at New Hampshire where I overdrove and got in the crash? Why tonight did I push too hard and get in the wall? And what is going on? And why does this keep happening to this team? Why can we not maximize our performance on a consistent basis like we did earlier in the year? Why are we in this position now? And it's great that you were able to fix all of that and you were able to salvage it, but we still lost 6 points on a racetrack we should have done much better at. And now we can't have a bad result the next 2 weeks because if we do, we're out.
Well, if you had these concerns, why'd you pick him for your Final Four?
I thought he was going to get hot. I really did. I looked at last year, and this team can get streaky, and they do. And I will say it's admittedly called it's a hunch to some degree. They did lead the point standings, and I looked at last year. This team, I just feel like if they can get past this, they can win. And Bell is a tremendously talented driver. It's kind of like Reddick. You're going to have two extremes. You're going to either be really, really good playoff, or it's going to be the other end of the playoff. I thought with Bell, I thought they were going to be better. I thought the pit crew, addressing the pit crew issue was going to be a long way to that. Through one race, that isn't the case. It's more of the same. And so right now, I'm not looking very smart.
Well, let's hold off on that. Let's pump the brakes on that yet, Jordan. There's plenty of time. It's one race.
It is one race. It is. But it's just all of these issues are the issues that have inflicted this team all year. And at some point, you gotta get past it.
Bubba Wallace is the first driver below the cut line. He is -1 point, but that's a big gain from where he was. He finished 7th. Really good, strong comeback. I would imagine. I mean, it looked like in his post-race interview that he wasn't happy. He got into it with Logano. He got into it with Allmendinger at one point. But, look, you're going to come out in your first playoff race. He was in for the owner points, but, that you're in as a driver and, finish 7th, pretty solid for the 7,500 and get right, basically back to even on the cut line, going into Kansas where he won a year ago. You would think like, hey, like I think I'd be feeling good. I'd be feeling good if I was Wallace.
Yeah, I mean, you're feeling good. You're happy. Impressive recovery. It was an atypical race for them this year. Typically, they run better in races than they finish races. This was kind of the opposite, where they kind of were off early and then they got better and they were able to salvage the top 10, and that's encouraging. I like that. I think it's good. Obviously, I think Kansas to me is going to make or break their round one, and whether they make it to round 2 or not. And they held serve tonight. They did what they needed to do. They went here. They ran top 10. They knocked off 7 points. That's a good spot to be in. but now you got to go to Kansas and do it. So I'm encouraged by what I saw tonight. Bubba and Bubba admitted afterwards, and he said it on the radio too. Like I got to keep in my head of like I can't try to do too much, and if you can do that, this team is capable of it, and they showed in the second half of this race, and so good for them. I mean, those 7 points are huge.
Well, again, when he the last lap of stage one, he spins, and that could have been a time where he gets too rattled and tries to push, and after that incident, right, and instead he sort of gathered himself back up, and made a nice comeback. So that's something you got to do in the playoffs. Things are going to happen, but it's a lot of it's how you respond to it in those cases. So. I'd feel positive. Now we are on to Kevin Harvick, though.
Oh boy,
what a story this could have been. I was, I really thought he was going to win it. I did. He was tracking down Reddick. Reddick at the time was saying, "Hey, my car seems to be popping out of gear." And Harvick seemed to have speed. And I mean, if that pit call, if that works, he's probably jumping him on the pit cycle, and he's probably going to have the lead in clean air. And as Cliff Daniels said afterwards, probably top 4 or 5 cars, whoever was going to have clean air wasn't really going to be passed. Boy, that would have been, the stands would have about fallen down there to Kevin Harvick win in his last season to open the playoffs, Southern 500. Instead, he is 2 below the cut line, finished 19th. Man, what happened? What happened, Jordan?
Huge missed opportunity. I mean, it's bad luck. I mean, you can't help that somebody spun out and a caution came out just as you're hitting pit road. Looking at the tape, and he said as much. It just didn't seem like he could do anything at that point. You're committed to pit road, and you've already lost the track position at that point. It doesn't even matter. And
no, wait, hold on though. I don't agree with that. If you drive through pit road and don't make a stop, yes, you've lost some track position, but everybody's under caution. You lose, say, I don't know, 5 something spots? I don't know what it would be.
I don't know. Rodney felt like they were already sunk at that point.
Well, okay. Maybe I'm missing something then, because the thing is they made the pit stop, and then you have to start at the back.
Mm-hmm.
But if he drives through and say he's...
Again, it depends. I guess we need to know how many spots he would have lost and where he would have lined up. And he still has to make other pits. I mean, it depends on where he comes out and exactly how many number of spots he loses.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I mean, that might have been. That was either way. It was probably the end of the win.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is like it did.
But points wise, though.
I mean, this team needs to win. Like, and Rodney said it. Rodney said the same thing. Like, we just need to win. And yeah, I mean, the points suck. I mean, big time. But considering where this team came in and the fact that they didn't have any bonus points and everything else, I mean, this was the opportunity to win. How many times this year, how many races have we said that the 4 car was in a great position to win a race? I can think of Phoenix as one. I can't think of too many races off the top of my head. It hasn't happened a lot this year, is my point. But tonight was an opportunity. And you don't know if you're going to get that opportunity in these other 9 races. And in Kevin Harvick's last year, that team wants to win. They want to give their driver one last chance in victory lane. And this may have well been it. And unfortunately for them, it's just bad luck. There's nothing you can do about it. It sucks. He's frustrated. I get it. And so I think they leave here pissed off and angry and wondering why us and what happened. And, yeah, they are great at Kansas historically, and he's great at Bristol, but there are no guarantees with this team. We just have not seen it from them this year.
So, it's so odd where all year long, right, we talk about, man, Harvick and this team, they just maximize every little bit. They just take what they can get. And again, like this wasn't something of their doing. It was in response to their potentially winning move.
Yeah.
they're like, oh my gosh, we've got to get Reddick onto pit road because we've got to try to counter what Harvick's about to do here, and he's gonna jump us on pit road. Reddick, I don't know what the thought process was there. That was sort of a panic on their part, but again, like I understand what you're saying. They've got to win, like, and the win is what would have really mattered to them, and all that stuff. I totally get that and acknowledge that, but I also feel like had they not made the pit stop there and not gotten the penalty, don't they finish better than 19th? Do they finish somewhere toward the top 10? And that's the difference between being 14th in points and 11th in points, which is, I mean, we've all seen how much points matter in these cutoff races and stuff. I mean, that could be very, again, that is a crazy moment. It all happened really fast. It's hard to, jump on that. But when I saw it in real time, I thought, oh, he can't, if he comes off pit road now, he's going to have a commitment line violation because he's too far down and he's going to cross over the box. So he's just going to go ahead and just drive straight down pit road like you're allowed to do and just keep going and then come back around for his pit stop. So that's why I'm saying when I was surprised when he actually made the pit stop for service. Again, though, like you said, the race is already lost, but I don't know, man. Like those points, I really feel like that could matter, and that would be a real shame. If
it matters. I mean, it absolutely matters. But
either way, you're leaving feeling terrible.
Yeah,
absolutely terrible.
You leave here, yeah, you're angry, and it's because you didn't do anything wrong in a race where a lot of people made mistakes and cost themselves. This team didn't do anything wrong. Just it was a bad luck, and it's unfortunate because for a lot of the stretch, Kevin has said like we continue to put ourselves in position, and the thing is what do you guys have to do to win? He's like, just keep putting yourself in position. You just keep putting yourself in position, and eventually, luck is going to be on your side. Things are going to break your way, and you're there. And they did that again tonight, and then unfortunately for them, it breaks the wrong way, and here they are.
And not only that, but sort of salt in the wound in some aspects. Second straight playoff opener at Darlington. Think about last year with the fire.
Oh yeah,
his car burns down for no reason,
no fault of his own.
I mean, gosh, you just got to be like, dude, what the hell,
And I think that explains Rodney's mindset. And I talked to him on the grid is like, you can't control these things. You don't know, we just want to win because we haven't had a lot of that. We're frustrated. And, he's, as he said, like, I've been to the championship 4 so many times and it's kind of a crapshoot, but I just want to win for my driver. And this feels like it might've been it. It really does.
Ouch. That hurts. 15th in points is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and he's 4 below the cut line. But honestly, if I were him, I'd be going like, well, that's not so bad because he was the first driver to make a mistake. He sped on pit road in the first stage, got lapped, was able to take a wave around. They were never really in contention, even really for a top 10. But he ends up finishing 16th, not great by any stretch of the imagination, but also to like have the speeding penalty, finish 16th, and only be 4 points below the cut line, I'd be like, oh, well, that's not so bad. I mean, we're not thrilled with what happened, especially because we wanted to have a mistake-free race and have a better result, but like could be a lot worse, right? If you had a mistake like that, you'd think, especially when you don't have many playoff points, you'd think, well, we're going to be significantly down here. But 4 points is not bad.
No, it's not. And Bristol's a really good track for Ricky. But the genesis of this team this year is not shooting ourselves in the foot and executing and maximizing. They didn't have a great car tonight, but they had a better car, I think, than 16. I think certainly they would have, if without the penalty tonight, they would have finished better than they did. And that's a huge thing because a lot of other guys that they're racing had issues and they would have finished ahead of them. And so this team having an issue on pit road and Ricky making a mistake that's the kind of thing that they have really tried to eliminate. And tonight they didn't do that. It's all they have harped on. We in round one we cannot make mistakes. We cannot. We have to execute, and they didn't execute tonight. And now they leave here, only 4 points out. But I look at it and I say they finished 16th. But if they didn't speed up pit road, they probably would have finished, I don't know, somewhere closer to the top 10, obviously. And that's probably 4 points right there, and he's on the other side of the cut line. So I just feel like, they left a little bit on the table, and they didn't follow the game plan that has worked so well for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I have faith that they're going to turn it around, and I've sort of believed in this team.
Sure.
But yeah, you can't really make another mistake like that at all.
No.
So they just have no margin for error, as you mentioned. So 16th in points, really the one driver that had just a really terrible night, the one playoff driver, Michael McDowell. Not only did they not run well, but they got into several just incidents, and then he runs into Hamlin. His own teammate was part of it, triggering the incident. Runs into Hamlin, smashes up his car, race over, finishes 32nd, and is 19 points out. And he had been saying, like, look, everybody's sleeping on us, but we know what to do here. And you look at his stats, and he made a very compelling case because, he's run well at Darlington. He's run, they could do it. Like had they had mistake-free 3 races, I think it was going to be very possible. But I think now already it's pretty much he's pretty much done. I know it's only 19 points, but
a lot of points.
Where are you going to get those 19 points from? At Kansas on the other playoff drivers? At Bristol, okay, maybe there's some magic, but
you need a lot of help.
He's in big trouble at this point.
Yeah, you don't really feel like you control your own destiny unless you feel like you can go out there and win one of these next 2 races. You're kind of at the mercy of what other people do. You need to go out there and run really, really well, and then you need 4 or 5 guys in front of you to have all sorts of problems repeatedly. So, yeah, that's tough. It's kind of like the Stenhouse thing for a team that really knew they had to execute and be mistake-free in this round to get out of it. They just, everything that went wrong tonight, everything that could go wrong went wrong, and now you're looking at an uphill battle, which is too bad because their stated goal was to get out of round 1 because they've not done that before the last time they're in the playoffs, and I don't see it. And I had them moving on too in my bracket, so.
Yeah, that's a shame. There was compelling reason to think that it would be possible the way that they've been running at times, and it's this. You really couldn't come out in the first race though and do that. Just have a night like this. So,
nope.
Really unfortunate. Well, Jordan, there was some other things to talk about in the race aside from just the playoff drivers. By the way, we didn't talk about Chase Elliott, but he did finish 8th, and obviously he's alive in the Owner Point Championship, and I believe he is 11th in those standings. If you hadn't already seen that somewhere, he's not in like amazing position to move on, but he's above the cut line in owners. So we'll see what he can do the next 2 weeks. But just looking at other people, Eric Jones, who won the Southern 500 last year, had really another solid run with a top 10 finish. And then his teammate, Carson Hocevar, I was really, really impressed with Carson Hocevar. Finished 17th. What is only his second Cup start?
Second or third.
I think second, right? He had the one Cup start where he subbed for LaJoie, who was subbing for Elliott.
Second, yep.
Right? To go out in the Southern 500 and he finished ahead of Truex, Harvick, Bell, Hamlin. To finish ahead of any playoff drivers in your, second Cup start in a car that has really struggled all year, for a team that's struggled all year, and just to run a smooth race with no issues, and again finish 17th.
You know why you can see why people are so high on him.
I mean, that's great. That's like a put that one on the resume. That's pretty impressive.
He is. He's gonna look good at Cup there next year.
Oh, okay. So there was another incident. Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez. What did you think about this one? This was a weird one.
Yeah, it just felt unnecessary. Like I don't know any word to think of it. It's just, I mean, frustrating. It was the excessive blocking was unnecessary, and I don't know. It felt very preventable. I don't know who they're both responsible. There's no, I don't, they both could have probably done some things differently. I think Bowman probably bears a little bit more of the brunt of the blame. It just, it just, both these guys cost themselves really good finishes in a season where they have, it's their season hasn't gone as how they wanted it. And I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah. I mean, Bowman had just gotten passed by Chastain, who had made sort of a bold move on him. And then, I guess Suarez was about to be passing him. And so he threw the block. That was ill-advised, right? Like he sort of tries to block twice. And he said that as much on Twitter afterwards. But also Suarez, I mean, and you could say it's Bowman's fault for blocking and blah, blah, blah. But Suarez ruined his own night, or, he took himself out by not lifting. Could you cut somebody a break there? He could continue on at least. He might be mad. I don't know. Does that make... I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but like he could have just taken a breath for a second and said, you know what, that guy, I'm going to get that guy back later. I hated that he blocked that, twice on the same straightaway. I don't know. Like,
instead, you tear up a race car. It just, again, it goes back to what I said. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, he finished 34th. Suarez was going to have a top 10 or close. So now here's one thing I really didn't like. Travis Mack, Suarez's crew chief. So, Suarez went on TV. They didn't play his interview until after. Or sorry, Bowman went on TV. They didn't play Bowman's interview until after. And Bowman said, well, I've had all these problems with these guys. His crew chief flipped me off in traffic on the way to the airport or something. And so Travis Mack quote tweeted it and said, I'd like to know when I flipped him off. Ha, guess he can see into the future. On the way to the airport, someone check him for a concussion. I don't like that last line there at all. For somebody
that's unnecessary.
So he missed a bunch of races last playoffs a year ago for a concussion. So to then say someone check him for a concussion, no, I don't like that. That's too far. Sorry. I don't think that's not good.
Yeah, there's no point. It's good for us because it gives us something to talk about. But to me, it's like you just let it go, just ignore it, just let it go.
Yeah, I don't know
because you're just fueling it. All you're doing is you let Bowman make his comment, and it's fine. No one's going to be talking about it. It's going to be forgotten.
Well, he even could have said, "I don't know when I flipped him off. Maybe he can see in the future." Period.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the concussion thing. That's the part that I don't think we should be cracking one-liners about that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. What else was there to talk about from this race that jumped out at you? Anything else that you?
Any comments on the track lighting, Joe?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's not great. It's not a good look. I didn't love that I didn't really like how it ran. So they called a caution for it, right? And it had been, something that had been on the radios for a while. I had messaged you probably 30 laps before that, and like, hey, what do you think about the lighting? People are talking about it on the scanners. And you heard more people talking about it as it was getting darker out, and it was harder to see on those lines up against the walls. So finally they called the caution. But then it was like, well, it's, they're running under caution, I think 8-9 laps, something like that. And they're saying, okay, well, they open pit road, they do the pit stops, and they're like, well, yeah, we're going to get these electricians out here or whatever, but do you guys want to go back racing? It was like, well, wait a minute. If you're ready to go back racing and you're asking the drivers, you guys good? What was the caution for in the first place then? Because this, Logano got the free pass out of that. Bell got to work on his car for a long time because of that. That has playoff implications when you stop a race. And so then I was like, well, I really don't think they should go. They should have thrown a red flag. So then they don't get the answer they are looking for, where some people are like, no, we shouldn't go back to racing. So they red flag it. Fortunately, they got it resolved in short order. I was a little bit worried there, where I was thinking, gosh, what happens if the electricians come out or something, or the power company, and they're like, oh yeah, like this whole section of, this we need a part or something. We won't be able to fix this till tomorrow. The race was back order. The race is past the halfway point at that time. So then I was like, oh gosh, this could be a real bad, but it just wasn't a good look. I don't know if there's nobody to get mad at necessarily. Like if Darlington says they tested the lights and it didn't present itself before that. Okay. It's just a bad break, I guess. But people rip on you rip on Gateway for their stuff. So
no, I think you were the one who rips on Gateway more than I do. I rip on Texas.
You were the captain of ripping on Gateway.
I've never even been to Gateway. I've just heard things. I've heard horror stories, but I don't think I've ever ripped on it per se.
Are you gaslighting me? You were totally gaslighting me.
No, I'm seriously. I've said that what I've been told, the infrastructure is not great there. But
you said on this podcast, I could easily go find it. I don't even have to.
I would like to. I don't think I've ripped on it. I think I just have pointed out some deficiencies.
Oh my gosh. All our listeners are with me right now. I know they are. Anyway, whatever. What do you think about the lighting thing?
It's unfortunate. I hate to keep using this word. It's just unfortunate. Like, it is what it is. What do you do, right? Bad break. It's, NASCAR tested the lights. They say they worked. Whatever reason, you know how things are. Sometimes things just stop working.
You mean like the video version of this
podcast? The video version of this podcast that just froze on us. Exactly. It just stops working. So,
well, that's because the internet at Darlington, the infrastructure, is not good enough to have the video version of the podcast.
It's the internet is post race at most tracks.
Well, every other track we are able to do the video version. I'm just saying. Anyway, well, should we talk about the was it a good race poll?
Yeah,
we have a whole new slate.
Yeah, we do. And I put a little thing on Twitter, so I'm trying to help study it up here a little bit.
What? What do you mean you put a little thing on Twitter?
I just said, I just put a thing out there, informal straw poll. How would you rate tonight's race?
You can't do that.
Show me the bylaws.
That is absolute BS.
Show me the bylaws.
You're asking people, you're doing a poll beforehand? I'm
just getting I'm reading the temperature of the room, Jeff.
Wow, that is dirty.
It's not dirty. Show me what I'm doing wrong.
That is that is similar to messing with the tires or fuel or.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I see it. You did. Informal straw poll. How would you rate? That is, wow. And you know what? One of the first comments I'm reading right here. Rocky Mountain Paul says, "Are you cheating while recording the podcast?"
Well, Rocky Mountain Paul needs to understand what cheating is. This is not cheating because this was never prohibited.
Okay, I'm writing back to this person right now. Yes, he is.
No, you're making accusations.
That is cheat. Okay, well,
not cheating,
anyway, that's fine. If that's the way you want to win, you're like all year long. You're like, yeah, I don't even price this right because that's cheap. But you're look, here's another person. Another person wrote back to you. This feels like cheating, IMO.
Well, it's not. It may feel like it to you, but it's not. Okay. Show me the rules for this
All
game.
right. Well, anyway, you're up 1-0 because you won the regular season championship on a tiebreaker, even though it was 13-13. I won last week, but it didn't matter because you won the tiebreaker. So you're up 1-0. That is your playoff point to start. So can you go up 2-0 here? What is going to be your guess for the Good Race poll to open the playoffs? What do you think?
Hang on one second here.
Are you looking for through the replies?
I'm actually looking at something else. I have someone else whose input on these matters I value greatly.
Wait, you're asking other people and you're asking Twitter?
Yeah.
What is going on? What is going on?
I am taking this seriously.
That's cheating.
It's not cheat. Again, show me the rules. Where did you ever say that I can't solicit opinion from people? Yeah, exactly. You never did. Thank you.
That is not in the spirit of the rules. If this was NASCAR, they would tell you to not come back with this policy that you're doing right here.
Chad Knaus would be impressed, okay?
Well, I hope ball doesn't lie and that I win, but what's your guess?
80%.
80?
80.
Okay. Well, since you're playing cheap, I don't really care about doing this, so I'll just say 80.1. I was going to say 83, but
83? That's good. I too high. That was going too high.
I think it's going to be in the 80s. I think it's going to be the low 80s.
Yeah.
So I would gladly place Prices Right you here. With all your help, you just apparently read replies of people saying it was an 8 out of 10, so you just decided to guess 80. Oh, my God. That is so cheap. Dude. Man. Can't believe you pulled this. You know what? I'm going to start my Target shopping list now. I'm going to make this hurt if you're going to use this tactic.
Make sure to get me some comfortable New Balance sneakers, please.
Oh, I'm not. Do I have to pay for it?
Yeah, I ain't paying for it.
No, I would just give you clothes that I already bought. I'm not going to buy you new clothes.
I'm wearing clothes that you already wore?
Yeah, I don't want to pay.
Oh, I'm not wearing.
You know what?
No. I'm not wearing clothes that you wore. That's disgusting.
Well, I have a washing machine.
No.
Wait, are you going to buy me like a new sport coat?
I was going to buy you some ridiculous. I was going to buy you some ridiculous outfit. Yes.
Wait, so if I lose, I get a new sport coat and outfit?
Well, be careful what you wish for there, my friend. Be careful what you wish for.
I thought you were just going to loan me some outrageous thing from your 70s wardrobe.
You're not. No, you're not touching my sports coats. I would not borrow you one of my. I do not borrow people my sports coats. So no.
Wow, this has been a shocking 5 minutes. Okay.
You honestly thought I was going to give you one of my jackets?
Yeah, why would you buy me? Don't sports coats cost a lot of money?
Some of them do, yeah. But I'm not letting you touch. No, I had a very particular outfit in mind.
Oh my God. You know what I feel really good about? Speaking of how we feel, I feel really good about everybody right now nodding their head with me that you cheated.
Didn't cheat. I don't appreciate the word. That's slander. Stop.
Okay, I just feel good that I have the people on my side. So I'm leaving here feeling good. I don't know how you're feeling, but positive. I'm on a positive note with week 1 here. So thanks, Jordan. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Jeff.
Well, next week is Kansas. I will be there, and we will be the roles flipping, and then we'll be back together for the Bristol night race in 2 weeks. Another late night there. So what is it? Almost 2:00 in the morning now?
1:43.
Okay. Well, what are you going to be there till the sun comes up or something?
Just like Daytona.
Yeah, I wish I was kidding.
I'm not. You're not.
Yeah. Everybody needs to tell Jordan that just go back, get some sleep, and then write your article. They can wait a few hours. They don't need it at 5 a.m. on Labor Day when they wake up.
But it makes me feel better because then I can wake up and largely I've got everything scored away and I'm not in scramble mode and I can kind of try to, get everything kind of buttoned up a little bit easier that way.
Yeah, but we're old. We're old now. We can't. Our
We are
bodies
not
can't
old.
do this all-nighter thing.
First of all, I am not old.
You're 1 year younger than me, and I'm old.
You're old. You act old. I'm young. I act young. My body can do this. My body does this all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, we of course
Maybe you need to get. Why don't you go to bed there, Grandpa? Okay.
Okay. Oh, wait. I have to tell everybody.
Good
If
Lord.
there's no way anybody's still listening to this, but if you are, we are running a $1 deal right now on The Athletic, $1 per month for the first year that you're a subscriber. And, we would appreciate your support to read our articles because, this podcast is not like paying the bills. I know people think, oh, podcasts. No, we're not making money off this podcast, or at least that I know of. So we make money because people subscribe to The Athletic, and then they pay us to go to the races and write about the races and talk to people and things like that. So if you could please become a subscriber, or at least consider it, that would be great. You can go to the pinned tweet on my profile, on Jordan's profile. Who cares? Give Jordan the credit for a subscription. Give me whatever. We just need people to see that they're subscribing to read about NASCAR, motorsports, because then we will get to do more coverage, go to more races, and keep our jobs and keep paying our bills so that Jordan can buy me a new sports coat at the end of the year. So anyway, we would appreciate that. Again, it's just go to our profiles on X, formerly known as Twitter, and we will have pinned tweets there with the link, or at least I will. You should, Jordan. You should do that too.
I will do that.
Okay. Everybody, thanks as always for listening, and we will talk to you next time on The Teardown. See you, everybody.